a faded photograph, and a lifetime nearly past. But the words I find still don't seem quite right for my brother's epitaph. Every waking day of these 80 years, I have missed the boy in the frame. I would give him half of my 90 years just to meet the man he'd have made. Mommy shut me out. She never spoke his name aloud. I saw my daddy cry. No one told me why, till his bones were in the ground. Every waking day of these 80 years, I have missed the boy in the frame. I would give him half of my 90 years just to meet the man he'd have made. Oh, 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 my days are nearly through. It's been good to talk with you, and I speak his name. Will you do the same when my bones are buried too? Every waking day of these 80 years, I have missed the boy in the frame. I would give him half of my 90 years just to meet the man he'd have made. To meet the man he'd have made.
So firstly, thank you very much for taking the time out to speak to my podcast as well.
No, thanks for having me.
That's all right.
Pleasure.
It's so it's great to speak to you about your brand new album as well. It's coming out on the 22nd of June.
Yeah,
It's all very exciting. It's only 2 weeks away now.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not long to go. How are you feeling about the release of the album?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it feels like it's been quite a long time coming. We started talking about doing some recordings, putting something out a little bit over 2 years ago now, and then the time that it's taken to I suppose decide what to record, and then go into the studio and get the songs right, and then kind of have everything. I definitely feel ready to put it out, and I'm looking forward to it coming out now. So yeah, it's good.
Great. Yeah, that's really good. So how long has the process been then, from sort of start to finish would be 22nd of June, but when was the very first concept of the idea?
As I said, it's kind of a couple of years ago that we started. So I work very closely with a collaborator, Stefano Della Casa, who's kind of my co-writer and producer. Mm-hmm. And we were travelling to a gig. I think it was kind of May time in 2016, and we were saying, okay, we've done a couple of singles. Maybe we should do, we should put something out. A little bit more substantial. And then I guess kind of that summer we started looking back at some of the material that we'd written, and we spent a bit of time in the studio and we wrote a couple more songs which ended up on the record. And then we kind of worked between I'm based in London and he's based in Italy. So
oh, wow.
he was coming up, and I was going to Italy and kind of spending a week or so in the studio, just I suppose just working things out. And we started recording things in that, I suppose, in like towards the end of 2016, and then we finished the recordings kind of middle of 2017, and then obviously the mix and the master. And then and then I think we had the album ready kind of November, December time, but then we kind of had to obviously sort out all the artwork and the printing, and then the PR around it. So it all takes time, but
it does, yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally be there. So, and actually the lead single from the album came out today, which is called No Gravity. So yeah, I've been busy too. So.
So we're going to be playing that one then. I'm assuming the lead single.
Yeah, I guess so. If you choose, pick what you like the best, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah. No. I've listened to the whole album. I think it's amazing. It's just such a soundscape of the whole album. All 8 songs definitely have their own characteristics and just their own worlds. And yeah, you should be very proud of that album.
Yeah, thank you. I think I do. You know, when I stop to think about it, I do feel like, you know, I've made a lot of progress over the last few years, and you know, I think between Stefano and I mean, we've made it all just the two of us, really.
Wow.
He's programmed a lot of it, and we've had a few guest musicians. But yeah, I'm definitely proud of this one. So
amazing.
I'm glad that, you know, other people are starting to pick up on it as well. So that's good.
Definitely. So going back through the whole process of the album, has the concept of the album changed over time? Or were you quite set on deciding how it would sound from the get-go when you started thinking about an album?
No, I mean, I think we just kind of, as I said, we kind of looked at some of the songs that we'd written, and because we were writing for, I suppose, a period where we were writing to write. We weren't really writing with a release particularly in mind. So we kind of went back through some of the songs and thought, you know, will these sit together? You know, how you know, are we happy with all of them? Do we need to revisit? And then, you know, another kind of couple of songs we wrote after we decided that we were going to put them together. So I think once we decided on the you know, on the track listing, everything, I mean, it all kind of fell into place fairly quickly, and you know, just the songs, I suppose, having been written at a similar, you know, point in time, you know, they're all like different concepts, but they all kind of fit into the idea of, I suppose, you know, human connection, and so I think hopefully there's a line that runs through them and that connects them all together.
Yeah, definitely. I would completely agree with that, actually. So do you want to talk a little bit about No Gravity? So obviously we're going to be releasing that later. Well, we're going to be playing it later on. It's come out today. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that song?
Yeah, so we wrote the melody for that. I think we completed the melody before we even started looking at lyrics, and I battled with the lyrics of that one, to be honest. But when I finally got there, I think I was really pleased with what I'd written. And really the idea behind the song is it talks about that kind of place or person that when you come into their environment, into their contact, that everything else just kind of falls away and nothing else really matters.
Okay.
And you know, I have that feeling when I go to Italy, so I'm lucky that I work with an Italian. You know, I spent some time in Italy, and I studied languages, and, you know, I lived in Italy for a while and got a lot of Italian friends, and, you know, whenever I get off the plane, you know, it's just that kind of feeling, you know. And then I play it at gigs quite often, and I explain the concept behind the song, and then I get silence, and I'm like, "Come on, people! You know, I hope one or two of you know what it means." But and then you know, we said we wanted it to go on the album, and it was, I think it was the last one that we produced, and actually. As I kind of struggled with the lyrics, Stefano struggled with the sound. I think because he knew kind of that it was an important song, and he wasn't happy, you know, he wanted it to be just right.
Yeah, there was sort of a sort of standard with it already.
Yeah, we got to where we were like, do you know what, we're not gonna be able to put No Gravity on this record. You know, we don't want to wait for it. We want to put the record out, but we haven't got it right yet. And then we spent a couple of weeks in the studio recording vocals last summer, and I think it was my last morning or my last day anyway, and Stefano kind of started messing around with a few ideas. I think he kind of felt a little bit under pressure to do it, but wanted to do it. But that kind of thing where you sit down and you've got the blank sheet in front of you and you don't really know where to start, and he kind of put something together which sounded good, and then I went and recorded a vocal, and from there he was just okay, I know what I've got to do with this song now, and it came really quickly. I think when I listen through to the mixes, it's the one that, I've kind of said on social media when I've introduced it today that I listened to it and I just thought, I can kind of die happy now. Like, if that's the last song that I ever release, then I'm satisfied. It was kind of a special moment, and so I'm really pleased that we did it in the end. We got there in the end. Sometimes it's the ones you have to battle with the most that end up being the most special. So
yeah. So there was a celebratory evening that evening once it had all been done.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So no wonder why it's actually the lead single, actually. So especially with that amazing story as well. So so going back to the songwriting process, obviously you said that the music for No Gravity, for example, came first rather than the lyrics. What tends to happen first, or what tends to develop first for you? Is it the music, or is it the lyrics, or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, lately I've been, most of my writing, I'd say almost all of my writing has been with Stefano, and he's a musician rather than a lyricist. Okay. So it might be that, I've got an idea, I've got a concept for a song, and, we sit down and we write some music, and then, and then I can develop that concept. Mm-hmm. It's usually there might even be like a little phrase or a lyric, and then we sit down and we try and work something out to that. But then generally the music will happen, and then I'll go away and finish the lyrics. I would never write a complete lyric and then try and set music to it. Oh, wow. So it definitely works much more the other way around, that, I'm more likely to write a complete song musically and then write the lyrics to it. But sometimes the two go hand in hand. Okay,
so it's more sometimes you'll write a few lyrics and then put some music to
it. Or an idea really.
Yeah,
so,
and then sort of that inspires the music around it, inspires you for more lyrics, and sort of builds from there.
To kind of complete to build up on the initial idea. So
interesting. I've never really heard anybody do it that way before. Me personally, anyway, because I've been helping a few of my musician friends with their songwriting recently, and they've decided that some of them prefer to just write all of the sort of main hooks and melodies and then write songs, or it's the other way around, and then they try and work around it. But it's amazing how many different ways and strategies there are for these sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I writing by myself, probably the two may have gone a little bit more hand in hand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely kind of over time, and as I've worked more and more with Stefano, I would say, kind of a lot of the time music first. So. Yeah.
So before we get on to the rest of the interview, folks, we're going to hear a quick message from our sponsors. So let me tell you about the most innovative approach to new music that exists today. Revival Recordings, an artist-first record label based out North Carolina, and has introduced Revival 52, a commitment to fans to release new music every Friday for 52 weeks of 2018. From metal to pop punk to indie rock, Revival 52 will be bringing something new for you to enjoy every Friday. And right now, Revival are actually giving away a free Amazon Echo to one lucky fan once they hit 1,000 followers on their Revival 52 Spotify playlist. Just go to ffm.to/Revival52 and follow their playlist to enter there. So do go enjoy great music from your favourite record label for free right now. That's Revival 52 on Spotify, and that's ffm.to/Revival52. So then, going to the studio, and obviously with the main thing that I can see around, or one of the main instruments as a key part of your album is the strings. And they play such an important important role on your album. So from the acute plucks at the beginning to the full orchestral sound on Dust and Doubt is one of my personal favourites. Did you intend for the strings to play such an important role on this album?
Well, I think it's natural that they would, because Stefano's first instrument is the cello. So
Okay,
he studied in the conservatoire in Genoa, and on stage, when we performed, the two of us, I'm generally on guitar and keys, and he performs on the cello. He also plays bass, he also plays a bit of keys, so, you know, coming from that kind of orchestral background, I think it's a natural thing that the songs that we then write will have that sound, because, you know, he's always played strings. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that completely makes sense, actually. That's amazing.
You play to your strengths, don't you?
Yeah.
So.
So the sound on this album is very unique. Is this the whole Hannah Scott album, the sound that you've wanted to play? This sort of quite atmospheric string and piano based sort of music that you wanted on this? Is this sort of the way forward that you've wanted to do? Build on your songwriting, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I think it takes time, doesn't it, to develop your sound, and it depends who you're working with, and I definitely started out very much more kind of acoustic singer-songwriter, but I feel like this is, it's a big step forwards. It's something a little bit different, and really it's just the kind of the joining with Stefano. So the songs that we write, and then I suppose the outfit that he puts on them in his production. I do feel like this is definitely the direction, and hopefully it will, the sound will stand out, and we'll keep moving forwards. So.
Yeah. So how do you think about portraying that on a live set then? Do you have all the instruments there? Was that sort of the theme with this album, is to portray it on a live stage as well?
Well, actually, we're working on that at the moment, because up until this point we've done a few full band gigs, mainly for kind of various other releases and launches, but actually recently we've been going out mainly just a duo in an acoustic format. But we've got our album launch party coming up on the 21st of June, and that's going to be a start where actually we're starting to use some program sounds and synths, and play kind of all the different parts on keyboards. We're working on that kind of as we speak, and depending on how that goes, I think we will then, the two of us, I suppose, take that forwards and see where that leads to. Mm-hmm. So it's an exciting time in terms of a live sound as well. So
yeah, definitely.
See what happens.
So on the subject of strings again, what's your opinion on their contribution to the modern day music world? Me personally, I think they're more important than ever before, and I feel like they're being featured a lot more. I just wanted to get your personal view on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think hopefully they're being used slightly more interestingly than in 80s and 90s pop music.
Yeah.
The sound that the strings make is just something really special about it, and I can't imagine putting out a record without any strings on it, to be honest. It makes everything just so rich, and as long as you've got a good arrangement, and Stefano's obviously quite talented on that side of things, then definitely.
Yeah, because I think it definitely evolves a song. So I've got a few examples of just musicians evolving as well with strings as well. It's quite an amazing instrument how you can evolve with your sound. So Frank Turner is one of them with his latest album. He used to be sort of like a punk rocker, and now he's sort of developing strings into his art, and it seems to be working really well. And one of my good friends from Brighton, Kev Minnie, who I've had on this podcast before as well with an interview, he was predominantly acoustic singer-songwriter, and he sort of developing his sound into strings as well. So I think you can definitely move up a level. It definitely sounds like you've evolved, but still in the same way. You're not branching out too much from your sound.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, when we first started talking about it, and Stephanie said, I don't want to do another singer-songwriter record. We were a little bit torn, because obviously you don't want to alienate the fan base that you've already created, and you don't want people to be like, oh, that actually I preferred you as you were.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you want to move forwards and you want to develop. You don't want to be stuck doing the same thing.
Definitely.
But most of the feedback that I've had, I haven't had any negative. I haven't had anyone say, and I think people do speak their minds a lot, don't they? So I haven't had anyone say to me, oh, I preferred your previous EP, or in terms of the singles that have come out, it's all been really positive feedback. So
no, that's really good, because that's one of the things I think with strings, is that it's not it is an involvement, but it's also not stepping out too much, from not being too outrageous. So yeah, I think it's something that everyone can get on board with, to be honest. So,
yeah, and I think there's still, on my record, I think there's still the kind of the connect. There are some acoustic guitars, and there is still the songs were written acoustically, and so there is still that connection with what came before. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I think, in answer to your question, I think the strings are amazing. I love them.
Strings are amazing. That's enough about that.
Yeah, that's what we need to say. Yeah.
So moving on to the subject of your recent arthritis diagnosis. Firstly, I have absolute full admiration of your get up and go personality, regardless of what's going on currently.
Thank you.
I know a singer-songwriter called Mark Holley from a band called Black Foxes who deals with Crohn's disease, and he's an incredible inspiration to keep fighting for what you want to do in your life and not letting it stop you. I actually went to see him live in London last September, and he had a Crohn's relapse hours before the gig. We went to see him, and he still went through with it. It's such insane strength and admiration that I have for him and yourself as well. And I know you're using this to sort of tell people how to inspire themselves. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more how you're personally inspiring others with such a colourful personality that you have.
Well, there are definitely moments, and I'm sure the musician that you mentioned will have had his moments as well, where my condition is called ankylosing spondylitis, and it's a form of inflammatory arthritis, and it basically can affect any joint. It's usually the spine and hips and neck.
Okay.
Luckily, I haven't had any problems with my hands, because
That's
I'm
good.
kind of waiting for that day. I need my hands, so I have problems with my feet and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the other kind of side effects, I suppose, of the illness is fatigue, and that is something that I do really struggle with. I sleep an incredible amount, and I never wake up feeling refreshed. And
Okay.
there are days where I kind of feel like I'm dragging myself through them.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of that coupled with pain, although my pain is it's more manageable. I'm kind of more in control of things than I was when I was first diagnosed.
That's good.
There are days where I just think, oh my God, I'm just gonna move to the countryside, get a few chickens, teach a few piano lessons, and live a quiet life. Watch some daytime TV and live a quiet life. But I think music is just in me too much. Like when that is a fleeting thought, and then I sit down at the piano and I write something, or I go and do a gig and I've got a listening audience. It doesn't have to be a big audience, but just an appreciative audience. And I think, no, I really don't have any choice in this matter. I have to do this. There is no kind of alternative. And so I suppose, I try to be kind to myself in the moments where it's harder, where it's difficult, let things go a little bit and say, okay, it's all right to rest. It's all right to stop. You're not feeling great, but tomorrow hopefully you'll wake up, feel a bit better, and move forwards. And I think it's just kind of a lack of alternative, really. I mean, I know that I couldn't I couldn't be on tour for a month physically. I wouldn't cope with it. I can do 5 or 6 dates over a week to 10 days, and then I need to stop. But that hasn't kind of stopped me in the short term. And I suppose that it's just really out of absolute love for what I do that I just have to keep going, really. So.
Yeah, no, it's complete admiration, and I know that it's tough at times, and I think it's a real inspiration for anyone to just try and do the best that they can, and obviously that passion flows through, and you could happily go find somewhere in the countryside and have a few chickens. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think music, like me as well, is just too much in me, and I can't not do something about it. So I completely agree with that sort of passion. I definitely think that passion drives anyone, to be fair. So let's move on.
It's stronger. The passion is stronger than the pain and the fatigue,
yes.
at least for now. So yes. I'm lucky that it's that balance, you know.
Definitely, so. Yeah. Passion is the best. Let's put it that way. So let's move on to your live show. So I was just going to put a general question to you on what your live shows mean to you.
Okay. It's I love being on stage. I love performing live. I'd always rather play to I'd rather play to 20 people that are listening than 2,000 people that aren't.
Could not agree with that.
I like the intimate shows. I like being able to connect with an audience. I like being able to chat with people afterwards. Yeah, I mean it's it's the stage for the songs, isn't it? I mean, I love putting music out. I love being in the studio and writing, but I think all of that is with a view to then being on stage and playing them to people. So I love it.
And it's definitely so. And again, it goes back to the whole passion thing. It's one of those things that just keeps driving you forward, and you see all these people afterwards, and thank you for then coming down and seeing them support you as well. That's sort of the main thing as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And then hearing from them that you've had a positive impact on their life, or in whatever small way. I think live music, even from a listener's perspective, as much as from a performer's perspective, is it's a really special thing. And I think all of the everything out there to persuade people to go out and watch live music, and all the the kind of the support of the grassroots venues and that kind of thing is it's really important that we were able to keep it going. So.
Yeah, it's definitely fundamental for everyone to keep supporting independent venues as well, because they are a dying breed, as it were, because they're closing down left, right, and centre. But it's vital for anyone out there to support their local venues as well, and just go see some live bands. There's nothing. What would you rather do? Sit and watch Love Island, or go out and watch a band? I know I'd choose option one, definitely. So moving back onto your album, we've obviously heard a little bit of backstory behind No Gravity. Is there another one of the songs on the record that has a backstory to one of them you could tell me a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can talk to you about Dust and Doubt if you like, or the Boy in the Frame has got a really personal story. Do you want a brief clip of both?
Because Dust and Doubt's one of my favourite, but I just love a personal backstory to.
Okay, I'll talk to you about Boy in the Frame, and then when we've finished, I can tell you about Dust and Doubt if you like. Right, okay. So yeah, Boy in the Frame is the closing track to the album, and this was inspired by a story from my family. It's my grandmother, who just turned 97. She's an amazing woman. She's independent, still living by herself. And I always say if I get to 77 and I'm like her, then I'll be pretty chuffed. Mm-hmm. But when she was just 10, she lost her older brother, who at the time was 17, in a car accident. Okay. And she keeps a picture of him in her living room. And of course he's little more than a boy in the picture. And when I look at her sitting on the sofa and I look at him, and it's really difficult to see them as siblings, because of course she's an old lady. But one of the things she does talk about him quite a lot, and in fact my dad was named after him, and one of the things that she says, which really hit home, I suppose, is that she feels it's really unfair that she's been given all of these years and he was given so few. And if she could, then she would share those years with him just to be able to spend a bit more time with him.
Wow.
And, that just that struck me really. And, so that's the story behind Boy in the Frame. And,
That's amazing.
I was worried about playing it to her, and I played it at a show, and it was fairly soon after I'd written it, and I performed it, and I said that I hadn't yet played it to her, and I felt a bit anxious about it because, there's kind of some poetic license in there, that it generally tells the story, but it also, it's not 100%, based on, not all of it's based on facts, and so I was worried about it, and I said, I don't know if I can play it to her, and someone in the audience came up to me after and said, you have to play that song mother, because if she dies and you haven't played it for her, then you will regret it for the rest of your life.
Very true.
And so the next week I went home and I played it for her, and she's very kind of matter of fact and laid back and quite chilled out about things, and she's like, that's really lovely, dear, thank you. And then when I speak to her about it, it's the song that shows that people often come up to me after and say, well, you moved me to tears, or that song, have you got a CD with Boy on the Frame? And now finally I do, so that's good. But I've told her how well it goes, how well it goes down, that shows, and well, that song, everybody likes it, don't they, dear? Yes, yeah, they do. So yeah, she's amazing. So.
Oh, that's lovely. See, that's why I like people. I like doing interviews with people who have great backstories to songs. It's just the best. Because now it's just like I have a real positive attitude for the rest of the day now. Because that's a lovely story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the space too.
And so lastly, before we end the pod, you have 30 seconds to tell the people about your new album in all its glory, what they can expect, and what song we are playing. Oh, actually, we're playing No Gravity, aren't we? So we've already done that bit. Tell the people about your new album in all its glory, and we can end the pod there.
Okay, all right. So my new album is called Pieces of the Night, and it comes out on June the 22nd. And it's a collection of 8 songs, I would say, really inspired by kind of humanity, human connection. There's family influences in there. The songs were all written by me and my collaborator Stefano Della Casa, and he produced them. We worked on the recordings together over the last year in a lovely studio in Italy, which was good. And I would say the sound, I'd kind of describe the sound as contemporary folk. There's some electronic elements in there and some acoustic elements, and yeah, I hope people will listen and enjoy it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah Scott. We'll play No Gravity to end this podcast, but thank you very much for joining me. And everybody who's listening, do go check out the rest of her music, because it is astounding. And when the album drops on 22nd of June, do go buy it, please. Thank you. That's all right. Cheers. Thank you very much for joining me.
I've been dizzy with confusion, and I'm trying